Greetings everyone, here's Yamika. This is a secret to no one, but I'm a huge DnD fan, and recently in the campaign, I've been DMing for almost 3 years now. My players have started the third and probably final arc. The characters are level 8, and it is now time to redesign them. Each of them will have their own speed paint, if I manage to prep them all, obviously. But for now, let's start with Lysora. I made a lot of research beforehand in my sketchbook, with multiple attempts, clothes and poses. And as you can see, so far, I'm only tracing a picture I've taken of the pose I decided to keep for the final design. You can find the whole process on my Facebook or Instagram pages, link below. Lysora is a character who's grown a lot in the recent years, even if he still has a lot to tackle on. That's why I really wanted to put an emphasis on a calm and steady posture, with an almost peaceful expression while he's staring at the horizon, confident in the future. The player also gave me a number of directions to take consideration of while redesigning him, so I knew from the very start that I'll have to deal with a lot of details. Bells, an elegant long coat, a pendant, jewels, his bird, oiseau. To ensure the posture doesn't look too stiff, I had to create dynamism by playing with the flow. As you can see, this has been done through the coat, the veil, his hair, and Runya's hair, the elemental spirit by his side. Now, about the coloring process, you may notice that it varies quite a lot from what I'm used to in my older videos. In fact, for the entire redesign of my players' characters, I planned on trying a more painterly coloring style by using grayscale and soft shadows, coloring them through gradient maps to achieve a more realistic look, we could say, or just more painterly looking style. This was quite an experiment, but I must say that after all this time, I'm quite happy how it turned out. So, here I'm starting by blocking in the character in a neutral toned grey and blocking the hard lights with a reddish and bluish tint. Even though I tend to a more painterly look, I still love my bold lights and saturated colors, so I'm not planning on giving up on that. That's my style, you know, that's me, that's who I am. So, back on the drawing, 2 sources of light are way more challenging than what I'm used to, even though they are often seen in real life. For instance, usually you have the direct yellowy light of the sun, while the reflected light of the sky is more kind of bluish tint, which is reflected by objects air, and trees. So after blocking the light, I decided to block in a darker grey the coat and the hair for better readability, even though I think it wasn't that useful in the end, and I think I quite got rid of it at one point, but anyway. And after all those steps, I went on with soft shadows. For this, I mostly used a large airbrush to mimic the parts where the light would not be limited by local objects. This is called ambient occlusion, and it is a huge part to realistic drawing. Then I made sure that the shadows were not too soft nor too distracting by erasing details or side of them. You can see this process as a multi-level step. Start with the biggest part, the bold parts, and then move on to the details. Step by step, it is way easier than it looks. Then, next step. Still working on ambient occlusion, I'm working on volumes with a soft and small marker brush. The tip here is to lower your line opacity and draw lines and little triangles of shadows wherever lines meet. Then you can just go on like you're really painting stroke by stroke to mimic volumes. Finally, I'm using a wide airbrush to draw soft lights and moving on to the color. This is important in order to make the drawing pop and not look too shady, not too dark, otherwise the contrast would be quite limited. Talking about the color, nothing too shady here, to be honest. I'm mostly using a graded map on each different object and part of the character design, messing with the colors a bit. And when you're using gradient map, it automatically applies them itself on the grayscale beneath, so it will keep the contrast you've applied earlier through your ambient occlusion, your shadows, your lights. It will just apply the correct color you've defined in your gradient map. So, now, let's chill and talk about the character, because, let's be honest, that's the most interesting part. I already talked a lot about everyone in my last video, but it's been a while since Lysora has met the circle and a lot happened since. So, just a quick reminder. Lysora is the son of a noble man and a nomadic woman, and when he discovered his origins, he went to live at a castle with his sister. Well, stepsister. Even though those were happy years, he discovered that, because of his elvish ascendance, he didn't age as fast as everyone. And Mr. Dulric, as you see him here, is currently 78 years old. Yeah, something like that, I believe. Good looking, yeah? So, because of this elvish ascendance, his parents, his wife and daughter all died of old age or disease before him, and he saw his blood as a curse to carry. When his mother left sword to him with a hidden quest, he fled the city to travel with the circle and forget about his curse. Because that's a perfectly healthy coping mechanism, as we all know it. After a long time, he discovered that the sword contained the spirit of his elvish grandmother, Runia. Changed into an elemental spirit to fight a war no long done, and she's now granting him new powers and occasionally beating some sense into him because, you know, she's his warlock patron and she's also his grandma, so she may at least be useful. Anyway, long story short, after all this whole adventure and the recent death of his sister, he's now both a fighter and a warlock who's learned to trust the circle enough to show his true self, wants and flaws. Today, even though he's matured a lot, his heart is still torn between his nobleman duties as he's been recently engaged to a stranger, and his freedom as he may have found a new family to love on the way. Whatever the blood, Lysora is a noble soul, despite his occasional cowardness and hypocrisy. He tries to do good, and he succeeds, most of the time at least. but this constant contradiction within him is what makes him whole, and is what makes us love him. So, yeah, we love Lysora in this house. So, here's the final result. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!